Very hearty welcome to Dr. Abdullah, the CEO of Vivekananda. Welcome once again. Excellency, it is indeed a pleasure for us to have you over here. As a matter of fact, personally, I have been hearing a lot about you from many of my friends. Most of all, Sani has been talking about you for many years, and it's good to meet you. We will also like to extend a very warm welcome to Ambassador of Afghanistan, Mr. Shahida Muhammad Abdullah, and also an equally warm welcome to Indian Ambassador of Afghanistan, Mr. Amar Sinha, and of course to all of you for having come here to attend this important function. Now, as the Chief Executive of Afghanistan National Unity Government, Dr. Abdullah has a very critical role to play in charting the course of Afghanistan in a very difficult times which lie ahead for this country. And perhaps there is no man more suitable than you, Excellency, than to carry out this onerous task. Dr. Abdullah has been both a soldier and a statesman. That's not a very common combination or a normal combination, and very difficult to find in these days especially. He has been in the vanguard of Afghan national struggle both during the Soviet occupation of Afghanistan and also the operation by the Taliban forces. And he's been a close aide of Afghan national hero, Commander Masood. Actually, he's a legendary commander, and I'm told that he was also there when Commander Masood died. He's been a foreign minister of the state. He's also been a presidential candidate twice over, and of course, it's due to his sagacity and wisdom that Afghanistan has been able to put behind two controversial presidential elections. It is a truism that Dr. Abdullah is the friend of India. There's no doubt about it. And we wish him the very best of luck in carrying out his task, which is so very difficult. But just because he is a friend, it is also very important for us to clarify our mind on some of the issues which really rankle our mind day in and day out. And I must also mention that there is a growing disquiet in Indian community, strategic community, not about the statements which have been made by some of the leaders in Afghanistan, but also about how Afghanistan really intends to go through this very difficult path ahead, which is written with the minefields of strategic matters, the financial matters, the security matters, and also the economic matters, the most of all. And I'm sure in his talk he will cover some of these specific issues. Now, exactly coming to these issues, pardon me for a little bad throat. Let me try to point out some of these important issues which come to the mind. First of all, the political unity of the national unity government and also the cohabitation. And this is an organization which is yet to be constitutionally sanctified. So, as to how durable do you feel really that this government is going to last in this critical phase of the Afghan history? Alongside, the next question which comes to mind is about the Afghan National Army. There has been a spike in the violence in the country, and the force has taken a lot of attrition. As to how long can this force continue to withstand that attrition, that is the issue. There has been also, of course, a spike in violence against the civilian population. Now, that is very important, and I must also say here that there can any words of appreciation and praise for the Afghan National Army will be too little, because this force has done marvelously well for that country. Yet there is a requirement to look at certain amount of restructuring and also providing them certain wherewithal. Coming to the next issue is about the coherence of the Afghan National Army and how it will be impacted by the peace talks. That is a very important aspect which one has to look at that. And will they be quite amenable to power sharing arrangement with the Taliban? And will there be any thought process of bringing in any people from the Taliban into the Afghan National Army? I think one may like to look at the experience of Nepal, where this thing really didn't work out. When the communists wanted to get into the Royal Nepal Army, or now the Nepal Army, this was an issue which was very testy for them and didn't work out. Coming to the last point regarding these, and that is really the mother of all questions perhaps, as to what are the prospects of the peace talks, as to what are the chances of reconciliation, and have any red lines been drawn, or it is left open as to how will we go along with this. We also wonder as to whether the Taliban will be able to dilute or be prepared to dilute their hardcore stance on Islamic fundamentalism thought process, and also do they sever their links with Al-Qaeda. Of course, when you talk of Afghanistan, you cannot miss Pakistan as to what would be the role of Pakistan, and are any metrics drawn for them also or not? And has Pakistan given up its perverse policy of a strategic depth in Afghanistan? Which, as a matter of fact, as a soldier, what I understand by the strategic depth is that should they have a problem, they will fall back into Afghanistan. Their armed forces will move into Afghanistan. All these kinds of wherewithal would move into Pakistan. Is that acceptable to Afghanistan? And what is the thought process in Pakistan on that particular aspect? From what one reads in the Indian media and the international media today, it appears that Pakistan is giving much more, Afghanistan is giving much more to Afghanistan than perhaps they had to negotiate. Recently there was a news item about Afghanistan agreeing to carry out operation against TTP. But similarly, on the other side of it, you don't hear of any news from Afghanistan really on the ground carrying on any operations against the terrorists who are operating against the Taliban, who are operating against the state of Afghanistan. Next, of course, the US policy. Are they really prepared to revise their role and stay back in Afghanistan? How long? And would the economic sustenance from the US continue or not? Coming to the Chinese, as to what is their role? Are they going to operate themselves or be in direct assistance to you, or are they going to use Pakistan as their proxy player? And this is one question which has been bugging my mind. We try to get some answer to it as to what is the role of a possibility of the threat of ISIS in Afghanistan. Is it likely to engulf the population of Afghanistan and also that of the Taliban society? And of course, to end my opening remarks, I would request you to elaborate on the Indian role in Afghanistan. After all, we have age-old relationship with Afghanistan and the goodwill in Afghanistan. That is very kind of the people there that they think so well about India. But presently, when Sir Ashraf Ghani has relegated India to the fourth circle, what do you visualize would be the role of India in Afghanistan? And what do you expect from that? It would be good to hear that from you, Dr. Abdullah. Well, thank you very much for coming over here once again. And as I said, it's a pleasure for me and an honor for me to meet you personally indeed. May I now request you?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. General Rich, General Sahani, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning to all of you. I'm honored to be here in Vivekananda International Foundation, which is promoting issues of regional and global scale. And distinguished participants from all backgrounds, civilian, senior officials, former officials in military and civil society. Good to see you all. Last night when I went home, my second daughter is about to pass these board exams. And I arrived around 12:30, and but she was still awake and studying. And I looked into the things, the issues and subjects that she was about to go through. And I think the questions that you were posing, I think that my second daughter is better off. I had already prepared a few things, so I might get rid of this very quickly and get to your questions, which we have seen reflections of them back home as well, and also in the media, in our own media as well as international media. The unity government was formed after a very complex round of elections, to put it modestly. Afghanistan was faced with the challenge of terrorism already, Taliban-related activities and terrorist-related activities. And security transition was about to be made. To give you a sense of the security transition, 2 years ago, there were around 140 to 150,000 foreign troops in Afghanistan, NATO, international partners. Today there are 12,000, and they are supposed to be, the number is supposed to be half towards the end of this year. So the challenges that our security forces are shouldering is enormous, and have shouldered in the past 1 or 2 years. Thank you for recognition of this, and our people are also appreciative of the efforts of our armed forces. The first question was about unity government and durability of unity government. As you can imagine, a government which was formed with the background of such an election, there will be a lot of issues to be discussed within the system. There are constituencies to address them while we are forming a government which will be a functioning government, at the same time taking care of different constituencies which have fought politically very seriously for months and months and months. I think that we have to give the credit to the Afghan people as well as to the Afghan leadership. We might not have such living examples in our neighborhood, in beyond, under the circumstances and conditions that we live. So it is a unique experience. So when I say that it's a unique experience, at the same time, coupled with it, it's a unique challenge as well as unique opportunity. Should we turn this into a unique opportunity, sincerity, and deep sense of understanding of national interest, in putting the national interest above all the other things, is required. And that's the key. That's the key to all those questions. Sustainability of the army, ability of our armed forces to resist the Taliban, ability of us to utilize the opportunities for the betterment of lives of the people, the economic situation, and everything, our regional relations and international relations. We might have started with a little bit of inexperience attitude, or we might have started in talking about our foreign relations. A little bit of wishful thinking as far as the ideas that we had to put it into practice. But there are certain realities and certain conditions which will not change. That takes me to our relations, Afghanistan relations with India. We have a strong foundation for our relations, which is due to historical, cultural, and also in the past 2 decades, due to support that you have given us. During the resistance against the Taliban and Al-Qaeda, you are the lead country in helping Afghanistan. And the war on terror had started long before it was officially recognized globally post September 11. And that the people of Afghanistan were resisting against the Taliban and Al-Qaeda. And Afghanistan was turned into the global capital for Al-Qaeda at that time. You had seen the consequences of such a situation for India as well, the kidnapping of the plane and many other things. We lost our leader prior to September 11, 2 days before that. That, for me, I was in New Delhi that day, and I was about to travel to Europe when I learned about it. But at the same time, for me, I thought that this is the end of Afghanistan. And it could have been as such. But anyway, then came September 11. And while that was a new situation for Afghanistan, brought new opportunities of Afghanistan getting out of isolation, and then the international community joining hands in supporting Afghanistan. The past 13 years, it was a golden opportunity for Afghanistan. I should say that we did not utilize that golden opportunity in the best way possible. We missed that good opportunity at times. Even at the beginning of the formation of the interim government, which we have a little bit of those ideas now as well. But then things started getting back on the right track. Some of the distinguished colleagues here will remember that your external affairs ministers were told that our relations with India should be tactical. And that created lots of concerns. But then India's sincere desire to help Afghanistan in getting stabilized and being able to deal with terrorist threats, which was still there, and also helping Afghans for the betterment of their lives and helping Afghanistan in different ways, in many ways, as the 5th biggest donor, spending over $2 billion. You proved your friendship with us, not based on back-to-back foreign trips, visits and so on and so forth, but in action. And now that the basis of that friendship is as strong as you can imagine. And never consider what you have done to Afghanistan being in vain. A lot has changed. There is a younger generation in Afghanistan which have received education here, thousands of them. So it's, by giving that example, I'm saying that the foundation of the relations between both countries is multi-layered and up to the grassroots. And while I understand the concerns here amongst the opinion makers, amongst those who are expecting different attitude, I should also admit that I was surprised that how that perception has affected the opinions here, as if there is a sea change in the direction that Afghanistan has opted. What is it that you are pursuing in Afghanistan? India is pursuing in Afghanistan. Helping Afghanistan to stabilize, to deal with the threats of terrorism, extremism and radicalism, and to create opportunities for betterment of life for Afghan people, and also facilitate for regional cooperation, which is a win-win endeavor for everybody. That these are very much in also support the democratic process. So there is a functioning system in Afghanistan which functions for its own people, and then gets the people behind it. So the extremist ideology or radical or terrorist groups will not find it a convenient place to grow and develop, or misadventurists will not find it easier to play their misadventures there. Isn't all of this in line with our definition of our national interest? It is. So that's what binds us together. Yes, in terms of if I don't, I'm not answering your questions in order, but I will cover it. I promise that I will cover all of what you have raised as questions. With our neighboring country, Pakistan, we had serious challenges, and we are talking to them to deal with those serious challenges, days in and out. I mentioned at the beginning that there might be a little bit of amateur thinking, a little bit of wishful thinking, a little bit of over expectations. That aside, that is there. But at the same time, we have serious issues with our neighboring country, Pakistan, that we have to talk to them. We have to deal with it. When they say that terrorism is a common threat today, when they say that today they do not distinguish between good Taliban and bad Taliban, they say that's a shift. That's at least a shift of attitude. We welcome it. When they say that enemy of Afghanistan is our enemy, we know who are enemies of Afghanistan. When they say that, we welcome it. It's a new situation. These are the messages that we are receiving. These messages will be tested with deeds, with actions on the ground. And should these ideas materialize, it's in the interest of Afghanistan. It's in the interest of India. It's in the interest of Pakistan. It's in the interest of our region. It is in the interest of global peace. So this is the context. This is the context. I was taken by surprise that I didn't think that back-to-back visits would have created a perception that as if that strong foundation in bonds of partnership and friendship is shaking. So that is like a very broad address to what you yourself mentioned earlier. Afghan National Army, whether it will sustain itself, or we will be able to sustain it or not. The fact that military transition has taken place in the past 2 years, 2.5 years, and I mentioned the example, just one vivid example of the number of foreign troops. With the number of foreign troops comes a lot of capacity, lots of enabling enablers, air support, intelligence, and everything in reduction in those areas. But it's still Today, as we are speaking, our forces are fighting against the Taliban in Helmand, one of their main strongholds. And they have reached to the areas where the foreign troops which were based there were not able to reach to those areas. So there is that strong will and motivation, in to some extent capacity, but at the same time we need the support of the international community, their technical support and support, comprehensive support, in order to be able to sustain our army and to develop it further, to be able to deal with all the challenges that we are facing. There is the when there aren't many security incidents in Kabul, then we get a perception that as if nothing is going on around the country. Serious fighting is underway in different parts of the country between serious engagements are taking place between our forces and Taliban. The number of the enemy's casualties are high. We are also giving lots of friendly casualties and civilian casualties. Again, for the National Army, the political stability is the key. And the smooth functioning of the unity government is the key. That's the key. With all its complications, what happened? That all those who had voted are behind the unity government. At the same time, I have to admit that there are a lot of resentments as well. The people of Afghanistan expected the unity government to deliver. So their economy will move. The lives will get changed. And the promises that we have made, like all politicians, we had made a lot of promises before the elections. Some of us a little bit calculated promises. Some of us even without bothering about calculation. So we had good ideas. We thought that we will materialize those good ideas. And because those things are not happening, then the people are not happy. And there is a level of uncertainty about the future, which I think our main job is to address that one. That Afghanistan has a stable system, and the foundation of the stability of the political system has to be strengthened. One way to do it is to address the issues of electoral system. So tomorrow, when the elections takes place, it's not like another event which puts Afghanistan at the edge or tests Afghanistan's stability to the furthest extreme, but rather a step forward. Hopefully, very soon, that joint commission for the electoral reform will be formed. So the parliamentary elections, which is ahead of us in district level elections, will take place under different circumstances, which will lead to further political stabilization of the country. Then further down the road is the issue of law that we have agreed upon, where then I will not have to explain what does CEO means in the political context. Chief Executive Officer, it may be companies. So this is the solution that we thought it was best under those circumstances for Afghanistan, where we were not able to amend the constitution, but then certain steps has to be taken in order to turn it into a constitutional foundation for governance in Afghanistan. And where I don't have to explain a lot, I say that CEO means Prime Minister. But when I have to get into the details of it, it will mean Prime Minister once it is in the Constitution. In between, it will require lots of endurance, lots of patience, lots of indulgence, and there is one strong commitment that we will not create a situation where the enemies of Afghanistan would utilize it in their interest. Those who want to turn Afghanistan again into a terrorist hub and then degrade Afghan people into subhumans will not be able to take advantage of this. That's the highest in our mind. In between, a lot needs to happen. Formation of the cabinet. 9 of our ministers were confirmed by the parliament. The others were rejected. These are the certain realities that we are faced with. While we had the absolute majority in the parliament together in the unity government, there was a very positive atmosphere at the beginning, first 1, 2, 3 months. We didn't seize that moment, and then things got complicated, and the constituencies started complaining, and then we lost that moment. And it was not expected that we introduced ministers to the parliament and then they will get rejected. But it happened. What's the conclusion? There is a lesson in it. And there are certain things that we should have addressed it in a better way. First of all, representing the spirit of unity, national unity government. Secondly, the right balance between effective governance and also political accommodation. This is the lesson from the formation from the members of the cabinet that we had introduced. One example: younger generation are the hopes of today and tomorrow. But at the same time, we thought that because of these credentials, academic and otherwise, and some experience in the private sector, they will be good leaders in the cabinet as well. We introduced them to the parliament, and the parliament decided automatically. And when we now look it back, put it into that context, some of the decisions made by the parliament were the right decisions, and we have to learn from it. These are the hard way that we are learning. And why the people are angry? Because they said that, look, after the experience of the past 13 years, you didn't need to make mistakes. You should have learned already. So this is the context of the situation, and hopefully after our visit to Washington, we will address these priorities of governance, governors, ministers, and then policy issues. On the policy issues also, we might have moved very quickly in some areas without taking the conditions and circumstances in the country into account. That as well, we have to correct our policy statements. Just 6 months, there are 2 ways of expressing it. And just to take you a little back to another environment and give you a sense of it, there was the London conference, which was re-strengthening of the commitment of the international community to help Afghanistan to materialize its ideals and laying a foundation for the continued partnership for the next decade. It was 2 weeks to London conference, and our British partners were very keen to get certain answers from us. And the British ambassador, which later on he will be, now he has moved to the private sector. He's promoting private investment between India and Britain. Yes, Ambassador Sir Richard Stuck. He said that I'm surprised. When I'm in London, they say that, look, it's only 2 weeks. When I come to Kabul, the people in Kabul say that, okay, it's 2 weeks. So it's 6 months It's a lot of time. But at the same time, we should have done better in the past 6 months. Nevertheless, this is where we are, and the will and determination to make it work is there. And in the first few days after the formation of the government, bilateral security agreement was signed. There are lots of news about bilateral security agreement, but there is a broad support for it. You ask the people of Afghanistan, do you want foreign troops in the country? They will say no. You ask them that, what are the circumstances that we want Afghanistan to develop in order to be able to stand on our own feet? They say yes to they said yes to the VC. That was in the parliament. That was also William in one of the judges that we had. That is BEC, bilateral security agreement with the United States, or so far with NATO, as the guarantee for saving Afghanistan of all the challenges that we are faced with? The answer is no. The answer is with us. We utilize the opportunity in the best interest of our country. The future is for us and for the Afghan people. We miss out with it. Then we cannot blame this country or that country or anybody for it, but looking back to ourselves, and hopefully we will be able to utilize this opportunity in the best way possible. So far, there are contacts with Taliban. There isn't any talks with them. There are contacts in order to bring them to the negotiating table. And talks has not taken place. Let's assume it happens in a few days. And it's also expected to happen in a few days' time. Does that mean the end of war? Unfortunately, no. It will be the start of a process that those concerns of us, which is terrorism, radicalism, will be the main thing in our mind. To deal with those challenges will be the main thing in our mind. But at the same time, the constitution of Afghanistan is Islamic Republic, not as Islamic Emirate. That is the utmost. That's the only clause in the constitution which cannot be changed. That is enshrined in our constitution, that whenever there is an amendment, the Islamic nature of the constitution and Republican nature of the constitution cannot be changed. So it cannot be turned into Islamic Emirate or anything as such. That is that. That is beyond anybody's mandate to review it. It's there and it's enshrined in the constitution. So that's the utmost. Then, what about power sharing arrangements? Even with the start of negotiations, this will be matter of discussion quite some times down the road. Quite some times down the road. Delinking with terrorist groups, delinking with Al-Qaeda, giving up violence, in accepting the Constitution as the legitimate legal umbrella, and then fighting for your ideas politically, whatever those ideas are. These are the parameters. When it is talked about that the cabinet is being held back because there will be power sharing things, these are all doesn't resonate with any reality on the ground. It's nothing to do, cabinet formation with those. Or the idea of giving 1, 2, 4, 5 provinces to the Taliban because now they are talking. These are out of question. So those are the broad parameters of talks that we have envisaged in the achievements of the people in the past 13 years in terms of their rights, in terms of their democratic rights, men and women, rights for normal life. These are not things that one will sacrifice it under the illusion of achieving peace, because peace cannot be achieved with with compromising the rights of the absolute majority of the people of the country. Then under this broad context, some of us are very, very hopeful that we will start getting done sooner rather than later. Some of us are not pessimistic, but being realistic, we want to put ideas into test. So if it worked, then again I say that it's in the interest of Afghanistan, it's the interest of peace and stability, it's in the interest of economic prosperity of our region, in all friendly countries and partners of Afghanistan. What's the role of China in this? An initiative was taken by former President Karzai to encourage China to step in, to use its influence in order to encourage Pakistan to cooperate in achieving peace in Afghanistan, to enable Afghanistan to be able to work it out for itself. That initiative that goes back 1 or 2 years before, and certain meetings had taken place in Beijing, and then when the unity government was formed, that idea was re-energized once again. And there have been talks between Chinese and Taliban, 3-4 rounds of talks, and the Chinese government are saying that they have encouraged Taliban to talk to the Afghan government. And as far as the talks are concerned, it has to be inclusive, Afghan-led, inclusive I mean nationally inclusive, in Afghan-led. That's the only way. Then countries can facilitate this. Countries have certain advantages in comparison to certain other countries to be able to do so if they have the sincerity in the will of doing it. So that's the role as far as the peace talks is concerned. Afghanistan being used as a strategic depth, that's what you meant. Afghanistan will not be used as a strategic depth for any country. Afghanistan has to address its own challenges and materialize the ideals for its own people in a vision of peaceful, a country which is at peace within and without, but sovereign, independent country with independent foreign policy. Yes, at times that you are in need of international assistances for sustaining your army, for sustaining your economy, you are too much dependent. How to balance the idea of full independent foreign policy and at the same time pursuit of your interest in attracting cooperation, that's a tricky situation. But at the same time, our wish is to have good relations with Pakistan, to have good relations with all countries in the region. Already in establishing good relations with some countries of the region, we have moved quite a distance. And the horizon is open for moving further down the road, for the interests of Afghanistan and for the interests of peace and stability in our region. The United States, in its policy towards Afghanistan, the drawdown is a reality that we have to face it. 2016 will be the end of their troop presence in Afghanistan, but not the end of their support for our ANSF, Afghanistan National Security Forces, or for Afghanistan economically. Then talking about economic situations. There was political transition, there was security transition. At the same time, with the security transition came a lot of decrease in the economic activities as well. When 150,000 foreign troops were on the ground in Afghanistan, there were lots of employment, lots of contractors, lots of businesses. All those things have gone. Lots of them. The fact that economy is moving, that's the initiative of the Afghans with the little that they have, how to make it work. But there is an opportunity to boost it further, to re-energize it. Again, it depends, part of it. It depends on the smooth functioning of the national unity government, and part of it depends on the right policies, on the right priorities as far as our economic and developmental priorities are concerned. On the ISIS, I don't think that any of us can ignore that threat. No wonder how remote it looks, because it's a new phenomenon. But as far as Afghanistan is concerned, there isn't an immediate threat from ISIS. Some local Taliban have announced allegiance to the ISIS. This is also due to their internal problems as well. But this is localized in some parts of the country. So we cannot ignore it. We have to watch it because the environment, insecure environment in parts of the country has to be watched. So they are not utilizing it. But there isn't an immediate threat to our security and stability. So to sum it up, the upcoming few months will be a test for our political system, as well as for our national security forces, which hopefully with the sincere commitment and the strong will of all leaders in Afghanistan, in the backing of our people, in support of our partners, we will pass this test and lay the foundation for a stable, peaceful, and democratic Afghanistan. And meanwhile, being here in New Delhi, in India, I should thank India for its support and for its strong commitment to continue the support. And in the same way that we were dealing with the sort of multifaceted dimensions of challenges in the past, you continue to support us, and that support has already brought lots of changes, positive changes in the country. We expect India to stay the course and be sure that nothing will shake the foundation of good relations and friendly relations between both countries. So thank you for the opportunity, and then it's General Bid's turn to answer the rest of the questions.